Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, 11th December 2021, the Hindu newspaper. First of all, we'll take overview of all these articles. Look at the first page. Prime Minister moots social media cryptocurrency norms. Okay, so he was actually talking or addressing the Summit for Democracy convened by US President. Okay, so different heads of the different governments or some different countries, they were talking about democracy here. Our Prime Minister also addressed there, and important issues highlighted, talked about need of regulating or let's say devising some standards for such regulation by all these countries coming together of the social media and cryptocurrencies. Already you should understand that in India, the government is planning to come up with a law regulating cryptocurrencies. Okay, and for social media, the Information and Technology Amendment Rules 2021, they have been already being implemented for soft touch regulation. That is what government calls about it. Now I want all of you to read the last statement of this article, and where the Prime Minister says that democracy is not only of the people, by the people, for the people, but also with the people, within the people. Okay, so this is something new now, and this can be asked in the examination also, no? Right? So up till now we only talked about democracy is of the people, for the people, by the people. Now the two more words added here is also with the people and within the people. So with the people, obviously it is talking about the participative democracy, and yes, how the people are becoming the part of governance process. So including people in the governance process, not only in terms of policy formulation but also policy implementation. And we know that the tools like RTI, Citizen Charter, e-governance, social audit, basically they are tools of citizen or people participation in the governance process. And the next part is within the people. Right, so democracy within the people, it is talking about all those civil society organizations and all, let's say, informal groups of the people. Right, that can be, let's say, a community organization or even the caste or religious organizations. So within those organizations, let's say group of people, there should be democracy. Okay, so let's say some philosophical aspects are involved here. This can be asked in the examination. If it is not asked, use this statement in the conclusion part. Use this statement in your essay topic also, whenever it is talking about democracy. So there can be question or essay topic related to democracy. Use this specifically in the answer. Okay, it will give extra edge. Now, come to the page number 5. Coal production hit for second day in Singareni. Okay, so yes, foundation students know about the Singareni coal fields. We all learned about coal reserves of India. Here we'll again simply revise all these coal reserves in India. And Singareni is one of the major coal reserve, coal field in Telangana, which supplies, let's say, a chunk of the coal to the southern states, thermal power production. Fine. So we'll try to find out these coal reserves in India. Then on page number 6, GST, Goods and Services Tax, as an unfinished agenda. Now from time to time, every month, there will be some article which talks in detail about the issues faced by GST. Okay, so we'll again revise this, discuss all these issues associated with the framework, the structuring and the implementation of GST. This is important from GS3 paper, economy part. Also to some extent, GS2 paper, fiscal federalism. Those who are having public administration optional subject, for their paper second part also it is very important. Okay, so we'll discuss that. On left hand side, green shoots. That particular article talks about there should be always a political consensus for implementing any kind of reforms And here, as we know that the government has, let's say, repealed the farm laws here, and whatever the farm sector related reforms in future the government wants to take, so they should be always through political consensus, or simply we can say through consultation with the stakeholders. Okay, so we'll discuss that aspect along with that which kind of reforms are required, right? So that aspect from GS3 paper we'll discuss there. Okay, cricket related is there. Kohli was removed as a captain of ODIs and all these things, so that is not important. On page number 8, center looking to use stubble as biofuel. Okay, so this is good thing for environment section. You need to understand that stubble or crop residue can be used as a biofuel, or simply we can say fuel for thermal power plants. So this is one of the pilot project being implemented by NTPC. Okay, so National Thermal Power Corporation. So that particular point is mentioned there. We will try to know this. We will use this in our answers whenever we talk about the air pollution issue in Delhi and NCR region. Okay. Yes, on top side, UN confers observer status on International Solar Alliance. So this is good development. Now the UN can collaborate with this particular intergovernmental organization, Alliance, International Solar Alliance, in terms of renewable energy. Now some basic about International Solar Alliance we should know for prelims examination. So when it was started, and its headquarter, which countries can become the part of alliance, all these things. Okay. On page number 10, 80% of funds for Beti Bachao was spent on media campaigns. Okay, so this is important. There is one topic, syllabus topic in GS2 paper, which talks about design and implementation of government schemes or centrally sponsored schemes. Okay, so for that purpose you should know which are the particular schemes of national importance, and let's say whatever the issues related to design and implementation. So this is the parliamentary committee report and its recommendations are mentioned here. So findings like 80% of the funds of this particular important scheme were used for only the advertisement campaigns and remaining 20 for other expenditure. Rather there is definite, or let's say whatever the design of the scheme is there, so there the different heads are there and the fixed percentage for under these different heads for the implementation or use of these funds. We will try to know what are these different heads under which the funding is given in this scheme. Okay, so some facts are mentioned, how much amount of funds are allocated to Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and how much of them were used, right? So these issues we need to know. There can be specific, let's say, government scheme related question every year UPSC asks in GS2 paper. Okay, and in GS3 paper also specific important scheme policy related questions are asked. So that's why, and we know that Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is very important scheme. Okay. On page number 11, China claims it's the largest democracy. Okay, so it is a kind of joke, we can understand that. It is just simply we can skip this news here. We know what is going on in China, what China does. So, okay, so today text and context is not there. Let us discuss all these important articles in detail, and finally some practice prelims MCQ. Goods and services tax as an unfinished agenda. Let us find out some basics about goods and services tax. First of all, I want all of you to know what question was asked in GS3 paper in 2019. Look at this question. Yes, enumerate the indirect taxes which have been subsumed in the goods and services tax in India. Also, comment on the revenue implications of GST introduced in India since July 2017. Now, this was asked in mains 2019. Okay, so there were around 2 years completed at that time during that mains examination, and sufficient data was available in terms of revenue implications. Now at present also the data is available. So first part talking about which taxes subsumed, second revenue implication. There can be simple question like this in future: despite of well-intentioned tax reform, GST faces many issues today. Discuss. So let us try to find out the content for this particular question also. Some basics in the initial part. GST as the important reform, tax reform of 21st century, we can say that are the one of the biggest reform after 1991, it is being said. Now GST was expected to improve tax GDP ratio of the government, then end tax cascading. Now tax cascading is because of, let's say, the intermediate goods and the value that is added through the supply chain, and that's why the end product, its price increases. At the same time, the amount of tax paid by the final consumer, that is huge because of this, and GST seeks to eliminate all that cascading effect of the different taxes. Enhance efficiency. So efficiency in terms of tax revenue collection, then competitiveness, growth, and ensure lower prices for the final consumers. It was also projected as watershed in India's fiscal federalism. Yes, so for the fiscal federalism, we know that GST, it was included in the Article 279A. New article was added in the constitution and GST was constituted, GST Council. Then the GST architecture has two pillars, GST Council and GST Network. Now we all know about GST Council. It is headed by Union Finance Minister, and the other members like Minister of State for the Finance and the State Finance Ministers of different states and union territories. Right? So this is the structure, and this council is having the important, we can say, representation from the states. The states are given, we can say, the value in the voting. 2/3 value is given to the states, 1/3 is for the union. So this is basics, we know that. And which taxes were subsumed in the GST? Some important taxes you can mention here, like central sales tax, then state VAT, value added tax, or state sales tax we can simply say. Then we can mention here the entertainment tax, octroi or entry taxes for local bodies. Then you can mention here wealth tax. Okay, so yes, 4-5 important taxes you can simply mention there, right? Now let us understand what are the issues and challenges regarding this. First of all, many states have experienced declining tax GDP ratio. So what was the intention? Intention was to improve the tax GDP ratio. However, so some of the recent surveys says that 16 or 18 such states are there which are even progressive states. So their tax to GDP ratio fallen. while for center there is increase in the tax to GDP ratio. For center there is increase in tax to GDP ratio. For some of the states there is decrease in the tax to GDP ratio. They are at loss. The second thing we should understand, there are stark differences between revenue neutral rates for producing states and consumption states. Okay, so because of this, the producing states are at loss, where the consumption states are at the benefit. These are some, let's say, allegations by some of the states. And that's why they are demanding that the IGST that should be distributed largely more than 2 states, so that these producing states which gives the inputs in that supply chain, they should benefit here largely. And because of this revenue neutral rates, this revenue neutral rates is basically to balance out the revenue of all different states, producing states as well as consumption states, where the goods are being consumed. We all know that some of the goods are produced in certain states, then they are transported to other states, and the consumption of good is in the other states. Now the GST is collected in that other state, right? So producing states are missing on the revenue for that purpose good, so they are compensated for that purpose. Okay. In this manner we should understand the issue. The next issue is problem of this stark differences was compounded with massive evasion following dismantling of checkposts and later on fake invoices that grew by leaps and bounds. Now this situation further worsened due to exemptions and subventions that are given by the government. So what happened when this GST was launched? When this GST was launched, there were many subvention schemes launched, exemptions were given under GST for many products and different industries also. Okay, along with that, the problem created due to evasion. So initially GST was not paid by the maximum producers. All of us know that if we are, let's say, into the business, let's say a family business or something, so there were like 2 things, Pakka bill and Kacha bill, right? So Pakka bill will be like GST included, Kacha bill will be like without GST. We all know about that, and to some extent it also contributed to unaccounted money, black money also. Okay, and on the other hand, the government lost revenue because of these practices, tax evasion. Right, so these practices still continue, but at present we can say that the tax compliance has increased comparatively. Now, the next point we should understand, while the states collectively forwent 51% of their total tax revenue by accepting GST, while the central government only forwent this or sacrificed only 28.8%. Yet GST is benefiting central government rather than states here. States are at loss, central government is benefiting. Okay, so different committees which recommended that the state should be given more revenue share from the GST, but still they are not implemented yet. Now, so GST is shared equally between center and state, but the state should get more share because they had foregone their major revenue from the, let's say, compromise they arrived in the GST. Now, even the constitutionally guaranteed compensation for 5 years has not been implemented in letter and spirit. Now, last year we all have seen this issue of the compensation, GST compensation, right? And yes, many states faced problem here because the central government was not giving the dues that were agreed when this GST was launched. What was agreed here? Those states who were at loss revenue loss, they will be compensated through the excess levy of the cess on certain products, goods. Okay, so that particular cess was collected, but yes, the compensation was not given to the states. This situation we have seen last year. What was the argument of the central government? The central government said that we do not have that much revenue available. Okay, but later on it agreed. Later on it agreed to pay that compensation due. Okay. Now, GST is discriminatory to manufacturing states, indicating the need for a revenue sharing formula that duly incentivizes exporting states by sharing IGST revenue among 3 parties instead of 2. Okay, so the reason here is that the producing states are also taking some raw material from other state, and raw material is exported by a different state. Let's say for example, the coal is, let's say, exported by, suppose, West Bengal, suppose, to the Jharkhand. Now in Jharkhand, suppose that coal is being used, and in the iron and steel industry, suppose, and let's say that industry is producing the steel, and that steel is being exported in the other state, and that steel is being consumed in different industries. Now here 3 states are involved. Okay, but what is happening? The state in which the consumption is happening, there the revenue generation is more, while the remaining 2 states are missing on largely the revenue, or only it is shared with one state and not the 2 states, this IGST. Okay, so this is one of the issue you can understand. Now international experience in implementation of such GST. So yes, this GST is being implemented in different countries like Canada, Australia, and the experience suggests that, like for example, 30 years of experience in Canada suggests that GST could be improved by limiting zero rating, tax exemptions, and harmonizing tax rates. Now at present there are 4 different, let's say, divisions, or simply we can say that there are some tax exemptions, complete tax exemptions, like zero rating, zero tax. Which are the products where the zero tax is there?
Grains, sir.
Sorry?
Food grains, food products.
Yes, food products or food grains. Some of the food grains are there, or some of the, let's say, products are not included in the GST also, right? So like some of the petroleum products, they are not included in the GST at present. Now tax exemptions. Now some of the industries are given the tax exemptions, some of the goods are given the tax exemptions. Now we should understand that 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. Now this is actually the irrational division. We can say many times the government reduces the taxes or increases the taxes in the different tax slabs in that GST. There should be harmonization of tax rates, and there should be uniform, at least only 1 or 2 slabs, not 4 or 5 slabs. Okay, so this shows there is some kind of unpredictability in the taxation policy for different goods. कभी government उसका tax 12 से 18 कर देता है, 18 से 12 कर देता है. In the next budget, suppose there is, let's say, some populist decision is to be taken, the taxes are reduced. Then after some days, some months, the taxes are increased. All these decisions are being taken. Okay, so this is important aspect. And at the same time, the Brazilian experience suggests that instead of giving tax exemptions and zero rating, there should be direct benefit transfer to some of the people from, let's say, economically backward classes, and we can simply say that some of the small scale businesses. Okay, so for them, those goods, simply the direct benefit can be given to those people or those industries, and tax exemptions are not directly being used or availed by the targeted beneficiaries. Okay, so these are not effective. This is what the international experience also suggests. In answer, you give these references. Okay, this adds value to your arguments. Fine, so you can mention these 4-5 arguments already in ED lectures. In the before prelims ED lectures, Ansari sir has discussed this issue in detail. I guess the open lecture is available in on the Lukman IS YouTube channel also, those who are watching online. So you can watch that lecture also, given let's say fiscal federalism aspect is in detail explained there from the polity perspective or public administration perspective, you can say. Okay, so you refer to that video there. Fine. Okay. Now, next editorial, green shoots, it specifically talks about the farm sector laws that were repealed recently, and very good statement given initially, no reform can be possible without building sufficient political support for it. Or simply we can say that the consensus among the different stakeholders is very much required. And we have witnessed at present the reforms that were taken in the agriculture sector, they were without let's say political consensus. They were without consultation with the stakeholders like states and farmers representatives or their unions. At the same time in parliament, they were not referred to select committee, standing committee, or we can say there was not much discussion, debate on it. So such kind of reforms may not be, let's say, effectively implemented. There will be much resistance here. Now, at present, the key remaining demand of the farmers is legal guarantee for MSP for all crops. For all crops. Now, this particular decision is yet to be taken by the government, and the government has formed committee. So this is headed by Prime Minister, and which includes the representatives of farmers also. So in future we can expect that decision, but UPSC may ask in this mains examination itself the question regarding whether there should be legalization of MSP or not. So you should be knowing the arguments from both sides. Okay, whether there should be legalization or not. Right, so yes, we all know about basics about minimum support price. This MSP is announced before sowing season for both Kharif and Rabi crops, or around for 23 or 24 crops are there. FRP, fair remunerative price, is for the commercial crops like sugarcane is also there. Right, now this argument in support of legalization of MSP. So farmers are facing the problem here. They are facing insecurity basically, especially by the present government initiatives. So these initiatives are being taken, and more orientation towards the market led economic reforms rather than focusing on the farmers' welfare and how to increase their income, their welfare. So that's why they are concerned that in future the MSP may be, let's say, ended, this particular policy may be ended, and that's why it should be legalized. This is what the farmers are facing, the insecurity here. That's why they are demanding like this. At the same time, we should also understand the problem related to frequent changes. The MSP amounts. Largely MSP is used as a populist measure. Right, so before general elections, 1 year ago that, so substantial increase in MSP happens. Like we observe in 2019, before general elections, the government had increased substantially the MSP prices. But for next 4 years, once the government is elected, so there will not be substantial increase in MSP in line with the market prices of the food grains. Okay, so when there will be legalization, there will be some kind of fixed formula for year on year increase. Also the food inflation and the prices of the food grains in the market, how they are increasing. Accordingly, the MSP may be decided. So more scientific formula can be devised there, and it can be legalized under the law. Such kind of let's say arguments can be given there. The second thing you should understand against here, against simply you should understand that from time to time different governments had continued this MSP policy. So there was no question of, let's say, taking out or reducing MSP or removing MSP. No government had ever talked about this. Along with that, the present government also says that we will not end MSP. Okay, so they are promising on this aspect. Now we should understand that MSP is the short-term incentive to the farmers. It is a kind of, let's say, the shock absorber in terms of any kind of crop failure that may happen, or the market prices may suddenly fall down, and there the farmers need some kind of security in terms of, let's say, income, security of income from the food grain production, right? So that's why the MSP was initiated. However, it does not give the long term strengthening of farm sector. It has created many such problems. This has been used by as a populist policy by different successive governments. Also, the MSP issues, we all know that it is skewed towards certain, let's say, states like Punjab and Haryana and Western UP. The other states and the farmers in that, obviously they are not taking that much benefits. The awareness about MSP is very less among the farmers. Only large farmers, they know about MSP. Along with that, the cropping pattern is skewed here, and there is no diversification of cropping pattern because of the focus only on the wheat and rice system by the public procurement through this MSP policy, right? So all these issues you can mention there, and that's why there is no need of legalizing this MSP. Rather, we simply can say that there is need of long-term reforms. In terms of long-term reforms, you focus on strengthening the agriculture sector by, let's say, mechanization of agriculture. At the same time, you talk about increasing the irrigation facilities. Along with that, you also talk about improving the extension services, crop insurance, and then you also mention here that whenever there is, let's say, market prices are coming down, there should be deficiency payment. You mentioned their PM Asha scheme. So government has come up with that, and this has been successful in states like Madhya Pradesh, from where the central government took the initiative of PM Asha, deficiency payment, right? So that can be implemented. Also, you talk about the APMC reforms that are required, reforms in the storage and transportation of food grains and supply chain management, they are also required, right? The problems of hoarding of food grains and artificial increase in price rise, right? So many reforms are required, but obviously these reforms should be undertaken through consultation and stakeholder participation. Right? Understood, everyone? Okay, so this should be stand here. So largely you do not take stand in favor of legalization, though you give some arguments there. But ultimately you should mention that MSP will be there, the government should not end this, but legalization of MSP is not required here. Rather, the other reforms are required.
If you fix it as a legalized, we create the problem now. Sometimes overproduction will go, and sometimes lesser than the requirement of production will come from the crop yield now. If you fix the MSP, it may give the difficult problem. So based on the situation, if the government will take the reasonable rate, it is a good for everyone also.
Yes, yes, yes. So there are many problems involved in MSP. Basically, the government should bring reforms to eliminate those problems. Okay. So legalizing is not the solution. If that is accepted, obviously the other, whatever the subsidies given by the government, so next time the farmers may argue that you legalize that also, tomorrow the direct benefits like PM Kisan scheme is there. So the government may be, let's say, demanded, like the farmers may demand like you legalize that fixed direct benefit should be given to the farmers. It can be asked, right? So it should not be, let's say, moral hazard here, right? So you can mention such points there, and finally you take stand long-term reforms simultaneously, and MSP should be continued. Okay? Yes. 80% of funds for Beti Bachao was spent on social media campaign, or simply media campaign, not specifically social media. This is the report of the Parliamentary Committee on Empowerment of Women. The report is on Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Okay, so government spent around 80% of the funds under, let's say, advertisement campaigns, media campaigns. Now, we should know about the basics of the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme. It was launched by our Prime Minister in January 2015 with the aim of addressing sex selective abortions and declining child sex ratio. Now we know that in 2011 census, the child sex ratio was significantly low. It was 918 girls for every 1000 boys. And the program is being implemented in across our 405 districts. Okay, simply the focus here indicator in these districts, the child sex ratio is significantly low. Now, the total utilization of the funds under the scheme was also poor. Some facts are mentioned here. During this particular time period mentioned, 2014 to 2020, in that 5 years, around 622 crore was released to the states, but only 25% of the funds has been spent in the implementation. Now the funds are to be implemented under different headings, but only the funds under the component of advertisement or media campaign is only used here, and that's why the committee recommends that the remaining heads, or let's say outcomes in terms of health and education of girls, should be now focused. The committee noted that massive spend on advertisement was despite the clearly laid down formula for utilization of funds. Okay, let's say suppose the 50 lakh a year earmarked for the district for utilization under 6 different components. Okay, 50 lakh per district per year. Now 6 heads are like 16% for intersectoral consultation or capacity building, 50% for innovation or awareness generation activities. So this 50% is for media campaign simply. Then 6% for monitoring and evaluation, 10% for sectoral intervention in health, and 10% for sectoral intervention in education, and 8% as flexi funds. So these 6 heads are there for the implementation, but the focus has been only on this 50% that is there on media campaign, and the funds have not been utilized in other remaining heads. So that's why the committee recommends in that report the focus now should be on this outcomes, health outcomes and educational outcomes. Okay, so this is the problem in implementation. Design is there, design is appropriate, but the problem is in implementation. The states have focused more on advertisement campaign and let's say not on other heads. You should understand that initially the focus was required on the advertisement because the behavioral change was largely required. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, like Gudda Guddi boards are there, no, under Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So those Gudda Guddi boards are part of media campaign. So the focus was largely on changing the behavior of people, bringing attitudinal change in the people towards the girl child at household level, the change among the parents also, like selfie with girl child or selfie with daughter, that campaign was launched. This was under Beti Bachao Beti Padhao campaign only. Okay, so the focus was on reducing the sex selective abortions and the, let's say, the education and health of the girl children. So now to some extent the attitudinal change is observed even in rural area. Now the focus should be on health and educational outcomes of the girl child. Okay, so this is how the analysis should be also done about the scheme. Fine? Okay. Next, the center looking to use stubble as biofuel. Simply remember that there is pilot project. National Thermal Power Corporation had procured 3,000 tons of stubble to be used as a biofuel and would study the result. Okay, this crop residue or the stubble can be used as a biofuel in the thermal power plants or brick kilns also. Also, this stubble can be used as a manure in the fields. There is a Pusa biodecomposer that can be used to convert this stubble into the manure also. You should know such kind of interventions, sustainable intervention to deal with stubble burning issue and resultant air pollution in Delhi and NCR region. Okay, you can give this solution or suggestions in the way forward. Now, UN confers observer status on International Solar Alliance. So this is good development. Now about ISA, International Solar Alliance, it was a joint effort by India and France to mobilize the efforts against climate change action. And yes, this was specifically for deployment of solar energy solutions among the tropical countries or those countries lying within the tropics or some area at least within the tropics. Okay, so largely all these countries are sunshine countries, simply lie either completely or partly between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. So it was, let's say, announced and first presented in 2015, and the agreement or framework was given in 2016 COP 22 at Marrakesh. Okay, so Marrakesh COP was there, COP 22. There the signing of this agreement started for this ISA. At present around 124 members are there of ISA, and this shows that it is the second largest grouping after United Nations. Okay, it is the second largest grouping of the countries, the states after United Nations. Now, a specific information, like countries that do not fall within tropics can also be part of alliance and enjoy benefits like other members, with the exception of voting rights. These countries will not have voting rights. Okay, so those who, let's say the area of the country lies beyond tropics, let's say in subtropical and temperate region, they can also become part of this solar alliance, but these countries will not have voting rights in the decision making. Now the headquarter is located in India, Gurugram, Haryana. This information is also important. Fine. So in prelims examination there can be question about this. Next, coal production hit for second day in Singareni. So Singareni, Telangana, important coal fields are located there. Coal fields of India, yes. So we know that more than 90% or around 98% coal found in India is from Gondwana system. Right. So which kind of, let's say, coal is there from the Gondwana system? Bituminous kind of thing. Okay, bituminous coal, and the tertiary coal is largely of lignite, right? So Gondwana coal is found in India largely in the central Indian states. Let's understand the locations. Yes, you can see in Jharkhand, Bokaro and Jharia, important coal mines in Jharkhand, Bokaro and Jharia. Then in West Bengal there is Raniganj, the oldest coal mine in India and even the second largest. Then Talcher is one of the largest coal field. It is located in Odisha. Then Korba coal fields of Chhattisgarh, Singrauli coal fields of MP, right, and Singareni coal fields of Telangana. Singareni coal fields of Telangana. So all these are the major coal fields of India. Okay, so major coal fields producing bituminous type of coal or Gondwana coal system. They are part of Gondwana coal system. Now, if you are talking about lignite or tertiary coal, major sources around 80% are located here in Tamil Nadu, Neyveli. So, yes, so Neyveli thermal power plant is also there. That the power plant is receiving coal from Neyveli coal field here. Along with that, the other thermal power plants located in southern states, the major bituminous coal supply happens from Singareni coal field. And that's why the concerns are being raised for continuous 2 days. The coal field was not working here and the coal production stopped. Okay, so in near future, if this continues, the southern states, the thermal power plants and industries may face the crunch of coal supply. Okay, and the tertiary coal is also found in some of the Himalayan states. Here you can mention in Jammu and Kashmir, in some of the districts. Then you can also mention it is found in Maharashtra. Okay, so northeastern states, districts of Maharashtra, here also you can mention the coal fields are located. Even in Meghalaya, you can mention the coal fields are located, and some part of Assam also coal fields are located, tertiary coal. Okay, fine. So this is important for prelims as well as mains examination. Now, what should be answer to this question? Yes. So the statements are related to ISA, International Solar Alliance, and we have to find the correct statements. It was conceived as a joint effort by India and France to mobilize the efforts against climate change through the deployment of solar energy solutions. This is correct statement. Its headquarters is located in Gurugram, Haryana. This is also correct. Now, countries that do not fall within the tropics cannot join the alliance. Now, this is incorrect. They can join the alliance and also get the benefits like all other countries. However, they do not have voting rights like other countries located within the tropics. Okay, so that's why 1 and 2 only, that is A, is the correct answer here. Fine? Okay, so yes, these are the important articles. Any question from your side? Yes? Okay then, so let us stop. We'll meet on Monday with the next current affairs or the Hindu newspaper analysis. Fine, thank you.